As with all trade deals, the real winners and losers will be the business owners who are hit by changes in tariffs and trade laws. I'm joined now by John Hebditch, who farms in arable crops and livestock in Somerset. So, John, why are British farmers so nervous about a free trade deal with the US?
I don't think we're particularly worried about a free trade deal with the US as long as it's done on equitable terms. I think what we're worried about is that we produce to a very high standard. We have a customer base that expects that sort of standard. And quite frankly, the Americans don't. And they will be able to undercut us on price. And more importantly, they'll undercut us on quality. And if the British farmer loses quality, we'll start to lose the share of the marketplace. And we ought to be producing all our food in the UK and not importing it from other places where we have no control over what happens to the quality of those goods.
So you're absolutely convinced then that quality will take a downturn if a lot of American products are allowed into the US market that currently aren't?
Well, if things stay as they are, they will, because we've already have a situation where we have hormones in beef cattle, we have chlorine washed chicken. These are things that are covered by rules and regulations, but those rules and regulations come from the consumer. They're things that our consumer doesn't want. They don't want GM crops, they don't want hormones in beef, they don't want chlorine washed chicken. And if we have to concede those points to make the Americans happy so we can do deals with them, it puts the agriculture at quite a disadvantage.
But Americans have been eating these sort of chickens and this kind of beef and those kind of crops for years without harming them. I mean, if people don't want them, they don't have to buy them, do they?
That's absolutely right. So it goes along with labelling and other bits of legislation. I'm not saying what the Americans are eating are going to be bad for Europeans. I'm sure that won't. It's just that our consumers have become quite accustomed to having the best quality that there is. And it would seem to be very counterproductive if we downgrade purely to make some American farmer happy, so he votes for Trump and we all have a trade agreement. We can get to trade agreements without conceding on things like quality.
What about the benefits for British consumers, though, if American goods, more American products are allowed in and they help push down prices?
This is the big problem, isn't it? We've got English agriculture working on very, very tight margins and very high standards. We've got other countries in the world who work on even tighter margins, possibly in some cases, but can produce goods very cheaply. And the standards aren't there. And we have, as society, we as a nation have got to make up our minds whether we want really cheap and cheerful, in which case a lot of English agriculture will go to the wall. But that won't matter because we can buy it cheap on the world. Or we actually hold our standards high, we produce to the best quality that we possibly can, and we deliver value for money for the consumer.